Well, as I promised, we're going to talk more about geopolitical impact, and I think it's something that really caught our interest from the two speakers we had before lunch. We are lucky to welcome back Julius, who will be on the stage, together with three other people from different backgrounds, which I think will create an interesting discussion. We got the ding-dongs going on still, but I'll just continue, whatever happens. So we welcome, in a second, to the stage, Alexander GAli, who's the General Manager of Sales Strategy for Saudia Airlines. He is leading the whole global sales strategy and oversees the transformation that we've indeed seen from the airline called Nevio. He plays a key role in driving the shift towards modern retailing and a strong focus on NDC. He's been in aviation for a couple of decades and helps a lot with the impactful. Somebody reads the subject of the conference when they write their bios, so he delivers impactful, future-ready solutions. So it'll be very interesting to get his views. With him on stage will also be Sven Liebert, who's the Secretary General of the BTW, or as we call it in local language, Bundesverband der Deutschen Tourismuswirtschaft. Yeah. That took me 3 hours to practice, So as I say, he's been Secretary General of the Federal Association of the German Tourist Industry. It's much easier. And he's been that since 2022. This is the umbrella organization for the industry in Germany and represents the whole range of providers, which is interesting because I've always been a big believer that it shouldn't be agents there, airlines there, hotels there, and this association gathers them all under one hat. So it's great that he's with us. He was previously part of the public policy Germany at the German Office of Metro until November 22, and responsible for digitalization. That's not easy to say either, of the public sector. And he has also worked with PwC, as you all know, a management company, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Has a study from Friedrichshafen and the United States. And finally with us we have Andrew Matters, who's Director of Sustainability and Economics from IATA, and I hope you all know what IATA is. He leads the team with delivering strategic insights and advice regarding the global economy and policy landscape. And this is what advises the decision makers within IATA and also regulators and governments. He's been doing this for some time, including advising senior industry executives and working with the working groups and technical committees at international conferences all around the world. And he has previously held roles with Qantas Airways and Leighton Holdings, and worked also as a senior advisor to the Prime Minister and Treasurer of Australia. So he certainly also is a world-renowned advisor. Let's welcome our four panelists to the stage. Is Julius there? No, Sven there, Julius. Yeah, and I'm here. Okay. We're just rearranging the furniture. They claim they paid for extra leg space. I don't know.
Man, you're quick.
But that would be €2 for that water, please. So, welcome to the stage, gentlemen, and thanks for joining us. We already realized that this is a topic that could go well over time, no pun intended, Julius, but there is a lot to talk about. Remember, we have Slido, so you can ask questions from the panel, also from your phones. Since we've already heard from you, let me just ask the three others if they have some comments themselves in terms of what they've heard during today, or maybe if they want to just start us off about, talking about what recent global events have an impact on their jobs and what they do within their roles, either if it's a company or if it's a policy-making association or organization. So, Alex, do you want to start and say, how you in your role have been affected by what's happening around the world, or have you been affected?
I think everyone gets affected from the entire ecosystem. Of course, as Saudia, we are in the middle of some of the events that are happening recently in the current year. What we've learned over this period, but also in general in the industry, that change is always there, things always happen. At the end of the day, the people always want to somehow travel, which is a positive thing. I think it's the breaking down the barriers often, or the breaking down perceptions of certain things that make people want to see another form of reality that is given in the media. And I saw some great presentations this morning. So the promising thing, I think, for me is that the new generation, Gen Z, and all of this, what comes with it, that people trying to explore different things. And I think that will maintain giving the industry hope and perception to a perspective to move forward in a different way.
It must be interesting for you in a country that, no secret, that until not that many years ago was quite closed, and now working for an airline and a country that has opened its tourism and maybe spending more money than anyone else in promoting tourism with great results. It must be interesting to see that whole change of attitude and mentality, really from the top of the country.
It's amazing. I mean, I'm there for 3 years roughly now, and even within the 3 years I see change. And I meet people that have been there for many years, for decades, and the change is dynamic and it's ever all around you. And I think the positive thing is it's still a little bit of an unknown area because there's too much media attention on it in some ways that maybe are not justified. But everybody that comes and sees it will be surprised about what it's actually all about. And we always open for inviting anyone to come and see for themselves and to see what it's all about. And it's different. I experience it to be totally different from what I expected. And I think it's a different experience for everyone.
And I guess from the view of all the agents, if we get new markets to sell, it's always good. And certainly we're building great infrastructure. So Andrew, from IATA's point of view, I mean, IATA has, maybe it's a misperception on my side, but it's not really, it's sort of been an internal organization. So you deal a lot with the airlines and how the airlines are doing and the airline regulations and so on. Is it also an outgoing organization in terms of dealing with the governments and making a lobbying point for the rest of the world?
Absolutely. That's dead right, John. We're a member-based organisation. We represent the world's commercial airlines. Our members account for about 85% of total air traffic, with more than 360 member airlines. So we are fundamentally engaged with the industry around the world in all of its aspects. We have a couple of very important roles. One of those is around research and analysis, and I guess that's in part where the economics comes in, having some of the data, being able to understand and quantify what's going on and trying to explain that. But we also are engaged in global standard setting. And the third pillar is really around advocacy, engaging with policymakers around the world, helping to ensure that they understand our industry and some of the challenges that we're having, but also some of the benefits that the travel and tourism sector, not just airlines, but the sector more broadly, can bring in terms of whether it's jobs, whether it's economic activity, the support that we provide to tourism, for example. All of those sorts of things are a really fundamental part of our role.
So with that in mind, and I know you're not necessarily on the sort of advocacy side, or maybe more on the sustainability side, but where does IATA see the biggest problems in terms of the geopolitical scene? I'm jumping straight in. I mean, I'm not holding back. You know,
Not pulling any punches, John.
yeah, come on. So, I mean, where would you say that when you go down to the canteen in IATA and they discuss, oh my God, what are they doing in politics? Where's the focus?
Look, I don't think there's one specific thing that I can point to here.
That's it. I've lost one panelist here.
No, look, I think it's fair to say, you know, the aviation industry is always a dynamic industry. There's always lots happening. I think where we're at the moment, things are probably more uncertain, perhaps in some ways a little bit riskier than we have seen previously. But I think there are two fundamental things which are really important to remember. The first one is that the industry is a very resilient industry. Right? It's business as usual for airlines to deal with shocks, whether they're global shocks, whether they're more specific. It doesn't matter if it's a global financial crisis or a pandemic or an increase in geopolitical risk and even outright conflict in some areas of the world. Right? It's an adaptable, resilient industry. That's the first thing. The second thing, which is a very nice counterpoint to that, is that notwithstanding everything that's going on, even at the moment, people still want to travel. Right? Whether it's for business, whether it's for leisure, whether it's to visit friends and family. There's still that underlying desire that people have a need, I think, to travel.
Very good. I'm going to jump you for a second, Julius. I'll come back to you. And Sven, so your focus is sort of more domestic, I assume. Of course, no country can live in isolation from the rest of the world. But you're involved more with German politics and German events. Mm-hmm. Does the German, because this relates to everybody, do the German politicians listen to the travel industry?
Yes, they do, because they still have Corona in mind. So that was the time where everyone was sitting at home, drinking wine until late in the night and have to cook by your own. That was not a successful idea during COVID. So everyone still has in mind what kind of time that was. I think it's still an issue in Germany that we always have to explain how big our wealth is for tourism industry. What does we bring to the country? Just to drop a few numbers. So in the German tourism industry, 2.7 billion people are engaged in making this miracle of tourism happening. And we are representing 4% of the German GDP. And these are high numbers for a country which is, of course, well known for our automotive industry. And what we are doing as the BTW is bringing these different dimensions together to explain politicians, well, we are the industry you can count on, as you already said. So traveling is something which is in our internal system, getting in touch with different cultures, and all this kind of stuff will not go away. So use us as your economical superpower, and don't focus only on the automotive industry. If those guys are doing bad, okay, that's fine. But we are the really magic. We are the guys who can make the magic happen. And it took some time that the German politicians really understood how powerful the industry is and what our political challenges are. And that took some time. COVID helped us because staying at home was not an option. And now we try to loosen some borders because, I mean, as Johannes Walter just mentioned, because of the taxation on air traffic is insane. So Europe is flying around Germany, and we are losing track. So we have some issues to tackle, but it's getting better, and that's what we are doing together with our membership associations like DRV, for example. Okay.
I didn't even know that we were supposed to drink wine all the time during COVID.
That's at least what I did.
Now you're telling me.
That was my personal COVID story. Yeah.
Okay, that was we had 2 years in spirit there. Yeah. But I mean, even during COVID, and I saw it from a number of countries, there was a feeling, and I think I may share it with some others in the room, that we were not that well organized as an industry, that there were other industries that managed to put the point across about I mean, in the UK, for instance, we felt the restaurant industry was helped much more than the travel industry. And I don't know if that was the case, because it's always been a difficulty by the industry that the airlines have spoken with one voice, and
Yeah.
that's why I mentioned in your introduction that it was delightful to see an association that speaks on behalf of the whole industry together. We should be partners, we should be seen as partners, and that way we should be much stronger. But is that a unique German thing, you think?
I think you always have to consider what is the baseline. So tourism industry is driven especially by small and middle-sized businesses. So we are way more complex than, for example, I don't know, the automotive industry, the international trade industry or whatever. So that is something which makes us special and even more difficult to explain politicians how to help us. So what is the one mechanism which helps most of the industry? That was during COVID tough times. I think in Germany we did pretty good with a lot of money, to be honest, to supporting small and middle-sized businesses. But let's see, right now they are having in the German parliament the discussion about what was good, what was bad about the pandemic, to have something in our toolbox, and let's see what our learnings are out of this situation. But until the next COVID situation, let's see what comes up. But,
Okay,
yeah.
so I want to touch a little bit also on things like taxation. You know, it was mentioned in the Lufthansa speech. You already mentioned to us that, you know, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. And it seems that we sometimes are the easy targets. The airline, and, you know, putting an extra £2 on tax there and £4 on there, and then a bit on the fuel, and then, you know, the overflying rights and so on. Is this a true picture? I don't know, Julius, if you have some experience in this side of the business.
I mean, I don't have any numbers to back it up. It's not my area of expertise, but I love listening to Sven because he said, well, we actually, in the travel industry, we did pretty well during COVID because a lot of money from the government flew our way. And a minute earlier, he said, taxes is just out of control. So I think you kind of have to tell us, you know, which way do you want to have it? Somehow the tax is got to be paid. So, I mean, I always understand that when things get tough, of course, we're looking for a bailout. And I think, especially during COVID, I think Germany weathered the storm pretty well. It cost us a ton of money. But when it comes to the airline industry, I mean, you guys tell me. I would imagine if I asked the two of you, you say, well, taxes are too high. Am I correct?
Taxes are always too high.
Taxes are always too high, right. So there you have your answer, yeah. But the problem is everyone's saying that.
But I assume, I don't know in Saudi if travel is taxed very high.
It's tax as well. I mean, at the end of the day, as soon as we go cross-border, every tax applies from overseas the same as for any other airline. I mean, we are not exempt from anything. Maybe in the kingdom itself, there's a different tax structure in comparison to maybe Europe, but there's taxes everywhere. And that, to generally finance things, I mean, that has to be there. It's a question if it's fair and what entices the travel industry to thrive. I think it's often if somebody sneezes, the industry, we as an airline, we start coughing because it's small little things that can often make a change that disrupts everything. It doesn't have to be in a big scale, but even the small things can result into creating fear unnecessary. It creates in people being reluctant to take that next step. And then on top of that comes then the media that emphasizes on that, making it clear that it's a luxury to travel. At the end of the day, we're all trying to survive in our way and trying to build partnerships across. And that's where LCCI and everyone here, as partners, we're trying and we have to try to find solutions, what Julius mentioned earlier, and addressing those and selling those. And if we can manage that better, then there's always hope.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about, because this is your area of specialty, is the sustainability. And the aviation industry is always, you know, the big bad wolf and the bad boys. And I know the numbers doesn't necessarily back that up, but that's the easy ones to talk about, how much we burn. Is this something you do a lot of studying in and reporting on? And is there something we can do to get the right message across?
I think that's a great question. I think to put things into perspective in terms of CO2 emissions, you know, aviation counts for somewhere between 2.5% and 3% of total global emissions. Interestingly, the contribution made by data centres at the moment is also about 2.5%. So, you know, with shifts towards AI and these data-driven technologies, you know, there are some parallels there. So, you know, I think sustainability is very important to our industry. There's a commitment to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. At IATA, we've developed a number of roadmaps to try to point the way to get there. But I don't think achieving that sustainability goal is something that airlines or airports or any part of the aviation value chain is able to do alone. And I don't think we're able to do it without a supportive policy backdrop and involvement from governments. Now, let me just be very clear here that's not, we need governments to give handouts to the industry to help us on our sustainability path, but equally we don't need additional road bumps along the way which make it harder for the industry. And if I could just touch on Sven's point, I'm very conscious of some of the support that was given throughout the pandemic to airlines. I know Lufthansa was one of them. A lot of that assistance was in the form of loans, which have been repaid. So again, it's about working with governments to find a constructive way to address a problem, to address a particular circumstance in the right way, right? In a way that is constructive and helps to achieve the goals in everybody's interest.
But the alternative fuels that are
Yep.
been talked about for a long time, SAF and now hydrogen possibly, and so on, it's going very slow, isn't it?
Absolutely, right, and that's one of the focus areas for the team, the sustainability team at IATA. It's how do we increase the production of sustainable aviation fuel or SAF, right? Because at the moment, SAF costs somewhere between 3 and 5 times the price of conventional jet fuel. And if you look at both the IATA roadmaps, and there are a bunch of other roadmaps out there, but the common thread through all of them is the vital role that sustainable aviation fuel plays in getting our industry to net zero by 2050. So we have no choice. We need to find a way to get more SAF out there. If we're able to increase the supply, that should help to bring the price down, which should help to ease the transition. But again, you know, there are some challenges there because airlines don't make SAF, right? So it's a lot of the oil companies that are involved in producing SAF. So we need to work with them, right? And potentially work with governments for the additional investment that is required, because we are talking about billions of dollars worth of additional investment that's going to be required over the next 25 years to help us get to net zero, right? And so I think there's very much a conversation to be had with governments to try to figure out how to make that work. And just bringing it back to taxes, you know, I think we can argue the point that perhaps taxes aren't the best policy that we can be looking at and implementing to help the industry's sustainability transition. I understand why taxes are attractive to governments, particularly given their current budgetary and fiscal concerns, but we find that the taxes often, despite their intention, aren't effective in delivering sustainability outcomes.
Okay, so Jules, you talked about, and you were very open and frank about some of the things that have been going on in the world. With all these peace agreements that have been made, and if it's 8 or 15, as you mentioned, or even sometimes between countries that didn't even know they were at war, is it a safer world now to travel in? Or what do you see on the horizon that is possibly going to cause trouble for travelers or make it more difficult?
I mean, I don't know if it's a safer world or an unsafer world. I think the uncertainty aspect is certainly part of it. I was sitting at a wonderful table during lunch, and we talked about Qatar and what happened in June when Iran obviously fired rockets at the American military base, which was, planned ahead. America was informed that an airstrike was going to take place. They evacuated their troops, and the airbase was hit, and basically nothing else happened. But the folks over at Qatar had to figure out how to get all the airplanes out of the sky and reroute them. A couple of weeks later, of course, the same thing happened when Israel attacked. So, was it unsafe? I have no idea. People from Qatar Airlines can probably tell us whether there was a safety concern at that moment when, missiles were actually in the air. But it probably takes a toll, both on you guys, as you guys are organizing travel, but also on the traveler, him or herself, if there's always a question of, could something go wrong? Could I be stuck somewhere? And I think that's going to be one of the major issues. In politics, we always say, perception is reality. And I think if there's a perception of insecurity or a lack of being able to anticipate what's going to happen, I think that's obviously going to be a toll.
Well, it's a big world out there. So why go to a place where you feel this, even if it's only perception and not real,
Right.
Why not go to a place where you feel it's safer?
I mean, this is where Sven is going to come in. He's going to say, well, come to the Black Forest in Germany. It's pretty safe over there. Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, there's lots of bears, aren't there?
Yeah, they're coming back, the bears.
Yeah, so very dangerous place.
But maybe just to add, I mean, we see it in the data. So once a year we're doing with YouGov a survey all around Germany, and we are asking German travelers, how do you feel in the world and what is your basic concern? The first concern is price stability. Am I able to afford with my family my 2 weeks holiday, which is so important to me? Until now, the German says yes, but we are losing the least 20%. And the second aspect they are saying is that 55% of the people we are asking what about political stability? And political stability is one of the biggest concerns in the German travel market, because they're reading the news. And then it's even more important that you have a trusted partner who is guiding you through the jungle of complexity while you just want to have your nicest 2 weeks during your year, because you just want to relax a bit, enjoying time with your family. And that is maybe the crucial point for us as an industry, that we are the guys who are guiding our customers to that point, because the people are feeling that there's something changing and that it's doing something to them.
So if we talk about, and to this audience, by the way, Slido is still open for a few minutes for questions. But if we're talking about this audience, which is mainly travel agents, I mean, it's difficult enough for some politicians to follow what's going on. How are we as travel agents supposed to understand the complexities of the politics of this world, and how can we advise our clients and give them, because the clients rely and trust on us to give them the right advice.
I think the ecosystem has a huge stack if they work together. So it needs, on the local level, on the destination level, you need the data. So what is going on, and what does it really mean for the customers who are on that place during that time? This kind of information needs to be provided for the tour operators. The tour operators investing a lot of money to build risk centers, to get all the data, to understand where is my customer right now and what kind of information do I need to bring to the customer, or even to the Reisebüro. And this kind of information chain should work, and it's getting more and more complex because, I mean, the guys in the travel agencies, those are the contact persons, and they will be called, and they need to answer those questions. There are new business model coming up with providing those kind of information, what's going on. And I think there's a lot of magic happens, but we need the right framework that this kind of data is standardized, provided, and then going through the funnel that the customer is well informed. And then it's totally fine to travel international-wise, and then you feel safe. But that's the crucial point right now.
I don't know if any of you, the rest of you, have a view on how travel agents can better inform and how we can help travel agents to keep. I don't know if you from IATA do some training. in this subject, or on how we can inform travel agents to help their clients?
I'm not sure if there's anything specific that we offer in that way, but I think it's absolutely clear that communication, particularly in times of uncertainty and disruption, is key. And that doesn't matter whether you're an airline or a travel agent or a tourist operator. Part of that is about maintaining the relationship with your customer. I mean, people like to know. And it's not to say that airlines have this all sorted out, right? But people like to know what's happening, what's affecting them, whether it's good news or bad news, particularly the bad news. People would rather know, because then they can make new plans, they can adjust their plans, they can deal with that if they know, because often it's the uncertainty that is particularly challenging and particularly concerning. And the other thing is that I think airlines, and probably the same holds for travel agents, people are going to find out what's going on anyway through technology, through social media. I think there's very much a place to be that trusted advisor of telling people what is actually going on than them finding out from other sources which may not be as reliable, for example.
Well, I just want to catch that point with Julius. The media has a big role to play, and the media, without generalizing, tend to sensationalize things and maybe blow things up in a way because they need the headlines and they need to sell their product. And maybe we have a role to play to be the balancing act in terms of what people hear in the media.
You can do that. I just wonder if that's actually helpful. I'm going to take the contrary perspective, which is, I don't think, going to be very popular, but I think there's actually an upside, and I know how crude that sounds, but I think there's an upside if travelers are actually scared. What I mean by that is, if people are worried that a bunch of things can go wrong, and anything might blow up in any moment, and all you guys send out a newsletter saying, this is going to be dangerous and this is going to be dangerous, but we're going to actually weave the needle. And we know exactly where you can go, and we're the only ones who actually have that information. I think this goes back to perception of reality. Whatever the reality out there might be, if the perception is that you guys are the guiding angels that actually make sure that my 2 weeks of vacation will go smooth, I'm willing to pay a premium for that. So just think about it that way.
Maybe. So there's a question from the audience, and I think I want to ask Alex about this, which is to do with how geopolitical rivalries can affect airline partnerships and alliances.
I think the uncertainty will always be there, and what Julius is mentioning, it's scary to think that it's always there, but it's always there. Social media is playing a major part in informing customers well in advance, sometimes of airlines, of something happening, sometimes rightfully, sometimes not. That maintains a challenge. Technology has advanced that we can communicate things much faster, thanks to development over the last years. COVID was part of that learning curve where investments were made in this front. But I think the one thing is that once things happen that are unplanned, I think a guarantee that nothing ever will go wrong is very, very difficult to give. But in the industry, I think as soon as something does happen, the rivalry is actually no longer, it doesn't matter what color plane it is, it doesn't matter who it is, everybody's trying to sit together to work things out. And the industry and airlines, and I think every airline by itself, will find a way to find a solution for the customer, to reunite him, to bring him back, or to take him where he wants to be. From what I've seen over the last decades is that the times have shown that in times of uncertainty, everybody pulls together and tries to put competition out of the way and actually tries to find a solution for it, no matter what it is. Okay. And that confidence, I think we just have to somehow portray that in case something doesn't go wrong, doesn't go right the way it's planned, that we are there to help and to find the best possible way to get out of it.
I mean, you live in an area of the world, and I don't want to get into specifics, but you live in an area of the world which is very unusual because there's a lot of neighbors around you who do not like each other, let's say, and certain traffic between certain countries cannot take place. But is there a feeling, both from Saudi and generally in the region, that this may change over the next coming years? And I know it's dangerous to predict, especially about the future, but what's your views on this?
Nobody knows the future for sure, John, but a lot of it is perception. There's talks between all countries happening, the willingness to open, the desire to open is there, and I think there's not one country or very limited countries where this is not shortly forthcoming. Sometimes these conversations take a long time because there's a lot of elements that play part in it, in the area, in the region, but as the same as in the rest of the world. Those relationships, the talks are happening. Things, we're planning to open certain routes already for a long time. Some things have happened very fast. I mean, now Syria, Damascus is now offered again by most airlines in the region. Despite what happened, it was a very, very fast transition thanks to the president that has made that happen.
Let me say that and put a point on that. I mean, I was pretty critical of President Trump earlier. Let me say that, especially in that region, he was a game changer. Obviously, there is no peace in the Middle East quite yet, but I would argue that he has taken that place of the world a lot of steps further towards the end goal.
Talks are there, people talk to each other, and that's always the first step.
Yeah.
That we need to talk to each other, we need to understand that we're actually all the same, we all have got the same desires of safety, of security, and that drives us. And Saudi Arabia by itself, I mean, from some numbers, Sven mentioned some numbers from Germany, we've got 13 million Gen Zs in the country. 13 million potential customers that want to explore things outbound. Of course, it would be nice to have the same number of people coming into the kingdom to learn the Gen Zs in the kingdom, but there's a lot of movement, a lot of new generations coming. The generations are very young, they want to explore, they're open, and that's what drives us to trying to make a difference on every side.
You can only imagine what it would do for Saudi if all the countries in the region could send I mean, you take most of your tourists from further away. I mean, not all of them. I know there's lots of countries you work very closely with also in the region, and they visit Saudi. We're getting very close to the end of our session, and you've been very frank and open, and I really appreciate that. Last question. I mean, and very quick answers. Are you hopeful or pessimistic about the next 3 years in terms of how geopolitical factors will affect tourism and travel? Let's start here.
I'm more pessimistic because I think like what we see regarding climate change, the fight for resources, the complexity of international diplomacy, everything will be more and more complex and more dense. And I think that will put some extra pressure on the international political debate, and that will put our industry more under pressure, but that has a huge chance that the guys who knows where to travel, how to travel, and who are the experts in security travel, these can make the run. And I think that's something like a great opportunity for us, because in the long run, there will always be people traveling, enjoying international culture experiences, and that's a huge chance for us as an industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think trajectory is going to go upwards. The way and path there is going to be volatile.
Okay. Andrew?
I think there's absolutely going to be challenges for the next 3 years and beyond. I don't think it's anything that our industry cannot manage, and I think it's not going to dent the enthusiasm of people who want to travel.
Okay.
By nature, we have to be positive, and the challenges will be there. We will find ways around it. I mean, one thing that wasn't mentioned that is also an impact, what we are facing today, is the supply chains of maintenance of aircrafts is a problem everywhere. So by nature, as an airline, we have to be positive.
Very good. There was a last-minute question to Andrew. I would suggest whoever asked it will catch Andrew afterwards, a specific question on IATA policy. So we'll take that. But please join me in thanking Alex, Andrew, Julius, and Sven for a great, great session.